Hi, it's me, Faith Abraham Bell. So, I was just gonna do my testimony and let's get into the story of my life. so, basically, I was born to parents, my dad Matthew and my mom Laura. She was 19 and pregnant. She was homeless. She had a really messed up life with a lot of domestic violence, watching her mother get nearly beaten to death, abandoned. She was molested by her father. They were starving. They went somewhere once and their neighbors burned their house down. So I grew up listening to stories like that. And I was never allowed to be alone with my grandparents, her parents, because of those things. So my dad, his background is I don't know what his problem was. I guess I would be called oppositional defiant disorder. And so his mom got married. His dad died when he was 8. He was a race car driver. My grandpa was a race car driver, and he died in a head-on collision with 2 drunk drivers, and he was one of the drunk drivers. And that was after he was remarried. So my dad's dad died when he was 8. His mom took care of him, moved to California, got married to Alvin. And they're Ashkenazi Jews, so Alvin was is now a rich lawyer. I think his cousin. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So my dad loved Alvin and was raised up in Judaism and had a bar mitzvah and learned stuff like that, studying Hebrew, etc. And eventually they got divorced. And then she went to Harvard. My grandma, Kathy, went to Harvard and got married to Richard. But my dad had some kind of issues, probably from his dad dying or whatever in his life. I don't know. And so, also from his mom too. So he ended up basically being abandoned by his family. When he was 15, he was kicked out in the winter in Vermont. And he tried to break into his mom's house to eat or sleep or something, or be warm, and she called the police on him, and so he had to leave. And he spent some time in a mental institution. Alvin got him out of that. Well, Alvin got him into that because it was he was out in California. He was caught selling drugs, but he was a kid. And what's that place next to Berkeley? Is it Compton? Is it Compton? I don't think it is. It's a city next to Berkeley. Anyway, he got caught in Berkeley selling drugs, and if he went to the jail, basically Alvin came to represent him because he was a lawyer and was told the judge, you can't send him here because he's gonna die because he's just a kid and he's not from here and he's white and all these people are black in the city in the jail, and so just send him to the mental institution. So he did that. And then for him to get out, he had some Freudian Freudian psychologist. And so for him to get out, he had to say that he was jealous of his mom's husband because he was in love with his mom, or some messed up thing. But he did whatever and got out. Anyway, when he was 15, he was kicked out on the street, and then he met my uncle and became friends with him. And my grandpa and grandma on my mom's side, they took everyone in. They had when their first child, my Uncle Davy, was born, my grandfather punched the doctor in the face and then was locked up in a mental institution for being crazy. And after that experience, he was unwillingly, like against his will, drugged up with medication. And my grandma was left alone with her first new baby. And these asshole doctors who just locked her husband up in a mental institution. The reason why he punched the doctor in the face was because the doctor wanted to use forceps to get my uncle out and like squish his head. And my grandpa was like, no, you're not doing that to my child. So after that, they became mental health advocates. When they got people out of the mental institution, they would bring them to their house. So they were used to bringing in all kinds of people off the street and stuff and helping them, and they were very poor. And so, yeah, my uncle met my dad. My dad went to sleep at their house and eat their food and stay warm with them. And then my mom, she got pregnant with me. And then, yeah, she's like 19, almost and pregnant, trying to get it together. She did go to Job Corps, and yeah, so anyway, they were together. My mom really, really loved my dad and still does, even though he has a different girlfriend. But she had, like, I was born, and my dad was crazy. He was like, I say was, he still kind of is. So, yeah, my dad's crazy, and my mom is a little bit crazy too, just from her life. But I was born, and they were like in love, except my dad was also a raging alcoholic and way like verbally abusive. So it was not a healthy relationship. Anyway, they broke up or something, and then her whole family basically disowned her. Oh, maybe that was before I was born. I don't know. They disown my mom. I think it was after I was born. Her whole family like disowns her and then like tries to kiss and make up with her to like see the baby, right? And she only has 2 kids, so I think it's only happened twice. But that's like, it's weird. So they like broke up, and then her family, who basically raised her and my father, took the side of my father instead of their daughter. Because I think it was over custody. She wanted full custody, or she got full custody and wanted $50 a month in child support. And that, I don't think that's unreasonable, but it doesn't even matter what I think. That's just what happened. So that's what happened. And she moved on to get married to someone else. She actually was at Another Way, and she saw these 3 beautiful blonde-headed, blue-eyed children, and like, I guess fell in love with them instantly or something. And then she met their dad and then got married to him. So when she got married, I had 3 other sisters. It went from me and my mom, my dad, to me and my mom, to me and my mom and Bo, Beth, and Mary. Beth is the closest to my age. Bo is the next oldest, and Mary is the oldest. And I think, was she 6? I think she might have been 6 when they all joined our family. So I would have been, if she was 6, maybe she was 7. I don't know, but we were young. Because it goes, I don't know. I was like a small child. Anyway, I don't remember like any of that at all. I don't remember my mom's wedding. I don't remember Easter's, Christmas, birthdays from Like, I don't remember meeting Bobeth and Mary, which I might have been like 2 or something. I was probably a really small child. Anyway, so she got married. I got these families added to mine. And then she got pregnant with my sister Jen. So the whole time she was pregnant, we lived in Orlando, Florida. That was the only time I've lived out of Vermont other than vacation. And I don't really remember it. I have one memory, and she had to walk the kids to school. And since she was a stay-at-home mom, we all had to walk to the school. And I just it's like a snapshot. It's very short, and I just remember all of us walking to the school. I don't remember any conversation or anything. I just remember all of us walking there. So yeah, 9 months of being pregnant. Came back to Vermont for custody court for me with my dad. And then what happened? Then did we move on to Cumming Street? I think we did shortly after. But yeah, so we lived on Cumming Street. That's where I mostly grew up. My mom only had 2 homes. One was on Cumming Street. Well, like in what I can remember of living is one on Cumming Street, which is a low-income housing complex. There's 20 apartment buildings, and you have 3 rows. You have one here, and then one over here in the middle. So it makes like a U shape almost, and it's settled right into like the bottom of the North Branch Park. So on the street, because it's at a dead-end street, you have like the rest of the street with like houses, like where normal people who are not as poor live, who can afford like a house. And then on the side of the street is a trail that goes up to the North Branch Park. And then behind my house was a big hill, which goes to the park. And then at the end of our like U-shaped unit of houses is another trail. It's like a bike path trail, and that goes into the North Branch Park with all of their trails and also the rec field. So we lived right down the street from a swimming pool and a playground, skate park, basketball court where they played baseball, like college baseball games, and then other outdoor sports, tennis courts. I think that's about it. Oh, yeah, and then the park. Wait, there was something else, right? Oh, they have this, like a big outdoor kind of pergola type of thing where you have like barbecues and stuff. They have like grills out there for public use and birthday parties. So there was that. That's where I grew up, and everyone was like poor and like messed up in the head of like somehow. Like when I was older and I did drugs, I literally went around all 20 apartments and was like named what kind of substances was in each house. So everyone was on drugs. And I don't know like when the other kids started doing drugs. But I started doing drugs when I was 8 years old with my father. Not my stepdad. My father. So yeah, I feel like this testimony is just going all over the place. Yeah. I have something stuck in my eye. Okay, so I guess I should go back to like my mom and Spencer. I get these 3 siblings. We all live together, happily ever after. I remember going out on the playground, and I learned how to pump my legs on the swings. Like, because we had our older sister, Mary, push me and Beth on the swings back and forth. She'd push us. But then, if she didn't want to, she wouldn't do it, and we couldn't swing by ourselves. So I remember the day I learned how to pump my legs and I could swing by myself. That was really awesome. And then I tried to teach Beth how to do it, and I wasn't able to. But that was like the same day. So I have that memory, which was good. And yeah, I remember what what caused their divorce. It was, I don't know if it was all three of us and all four of us, or if it was just me and two of my siblings. But I was in a row of my siblings in the hallway watching my mom standing against the door. She was like, here's our hallway, and then here's the door, like in front of it. So we were all standing in the hallway. She was going to leave, and she couldn't, and I just remember her being not strangled like this, but I remember her being choked out, like with an arm around her neck, choking her. And it was Spencer choking her husband. So after that, she got a divorce. So I have that memory. Back in my childhood, the other memories I have is I tied my toy horse Blackie, which I still have. His nose had like the hole in it to put the rope. And I tied the rope to a table leg. And that was in my dad's house. And I tied it to the table, and I couldn't get the knot undone to move it, but he wanted me to move it. And so I was scared of getting in trouble, or maybe I was already yelled at and that's why I was scared. But that's like the first time I felt like scared, anxious, like I was gonna get in trouble. And then my other childhood memory is me sitting in his bread truck. I was just sitting there. Like I just vaguely remember it. And nothing even happened. I remember the window. And I remember like the floor. So that's that. And the only reason I think I remember that one is because I have a picture of it, and that jogged my memory. And so more recently in my life, I was in therapy, and my therapist said to talk to my family about my childhood and look at pictures, and that might help me remember stuff. But when I tried to talk to my family, I don't know, they're like not helpful, I guess. Anyway, so after the divorce, yeah, I don't remember like my mom's wedding. I don't remember birthdays. I remember my 8th birthday. I think it was my 8th birthday. Basically, I was opening presents and the kids at my party were like touching my toys, and I got really mad because they were touching my toys, and I freaked out and I started screaming at everybody, and I wanted to give all my presents to Beth. I like ran up the stairs, and we had like a staircase that kind of went like this, and then there was a landing, and then it went like this the other way. So it's like, I don't know what that shape is. But I would like ran up the stairs, and I think I was on the staircase, not on the landing, and I was like, Beth can have all my presents, I hate everybody. I was like screaming, and then I just ran up the stairs and cried. And then no one ever came to my birthday parties after that. Of course, we invited like the neighbors. So anyway, I remember that, and I remember being molested when I was 8 by another neighborhood kid who was older than me. And in that situation, he sat next to me on the bus and started talking to me, which was unusual because that had never happened. And he was like, "Oh, let's go behind this building." And I did that. And it was my row of apartments. So I think it was this house right next to my house. Of course, it's a complex, so every wall is connected to the next house. Yeah, so that happened. And then I ran home and cried and cried and cried. And my mom kept asking me what was wrong. And I did not want to tell her. And then I did tell her. And then she got all stressed out and called the police. And I had to go to the doctor. And all of those experiences were uncomfortable. People questioning me about what happened when I didn't even want to talk about it. That was messed up. So that was traumatic. And I remember the first time I smoked weed. That was when I was 8. And that was with my dad at his like trailer that he lived in. And yeah, I just got high. That was it. And my mom got really mad about that. She like spazzed on my dad about it. Like, what are you doing getting high with our daughter? She's a child. But that didn't stop him. And we kept getting high. So yeah, then that was the beginning of me doing drugs. What else? Oh, I remember one year, I don't know how old I was, I had a green bike. Maybe I was like 11 or 12. I had a green bicycle and I loved it. And I was riding it and I just remember I fell off and scraped my knee and I cried and went home. What else? What else can I remember? I don't know. Did I already say? I don't remember like holidays or anything. Easter, Christmas dinner, my siblings' birthdays, my other birthdays. Like every year I've had a birthday. And I remember when I was 8, 9, 10, 11. Have no idea. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any memories with my aunt when she was ever in Vermont when I was a kid. I remember when my cousins, my aunt and my cousins came to stay at my house, but I don't think that's when I was a child because they were like 3. So I must have been older. Okay, I think I might have been like 14 or 15. Okay, so then fast forward to when I'm like 12, right? That's when I kind of get my memories back. Wait a minute, no, that's not true. In 4th grade, in school, I remember, I remember my 3rd grade teacher because she always had Smartie candy. And I remember when I was in elementary school, I ate my lunch really slow and I got in trouble for that. And I also had like no friends. From 3rd grade on, I didn't have any friends in school unless they did drugs with me. And it was probably because of like my experiences, and I was like socially awkward or whatever. I like didn't know how to make friends because my life. So I remember in 3rd grade, I like when I ate lunch, I ate by myself. It wasn't just third grade, it was like almost the rest of my school life. And so I didn't ever want to go outside for recess because I'd have to play with other kids and I didn't have any friends. So I always tried to just stay inside, but it wasn't allowed. It was against the policy. So they would make me go outside and I hated it. And my sister Jen, actually, who's 6 years younger than me, or 5 years younger than me, she had the same problem at the same school with the same employees, like the school employees. Like, she would eat her lunch really slow and not want to go outside, and they would make her go anyway, and she didn't like it. So it's not just me. And then in 4th grade, I remember my teacher, Mrs. Ferris, and I remember every Friday we watched a movie in one of our classes. I also have a memory of like walking down the staircase, and it was like everything was empty in the school, and I feel like it was like I shouldn't have been like going where I was going, like I was snooping around or something. I do still love to snoop around stuff. Oh, and then in 5th grade, I had like a speech impediment. I couldn't say R. I'd say like like I don't know. I sounded like oh, like I couldn't say the R's. You know how it sounds when people don't know how to do that. Anyway, so I was like pulled out of class to do speech therapy, and I also never did any of my homework. All of like 4th and 5th grade, I like was so overwhelmed with homework. I was like, how can you be assigning me this much homework? Like I couldn't do it, or I didn't do it. Like it was just overwhelming, and I like kind of hated school, and I would always get pulled out of class to go like sit in like the little room and do, I don't know, work. But yeah, I mean, I could do that all class and I never got it done. I can't remember if I would do homework at home. I don't even remember what happened at home. Like, what happened when I got out of school? I remember my daycare on Elm Street, but I don't think that was in elementary school. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so some memories I have from my daycare. I remember this really pretty skinny blonde girl, and I remember PJ. I don't know how old I was, though. Yeah, I remember I kind of liked PJ, and I was kind of like, I thought that other girl was prettier than me. And I don't know, I probably felt like insecure about it. Yeah, I don't remember a whole lot. I think Christopher went to daycare there, and he was a cute little kid with blonde hair. Okay, God, what else do you want me to remember? Yeah, so I have no idea how old I was. I went there for a few years though. And I remember that blonde girl. She had, I think, 2 other sisters. And they were in like the jumping beans. They went to different school. They went to Middlesex School and I went to Montpelier. And they had like a jump rope team, and I just remember she jump roped. Because I saw her later in college. We went to the same school. I was like, hey, I remember you. She was like, yeah. And I was like, how's that jump roping? And she was like, it's great. And I was like, nice, bye. It was at a party. It's like the lower pond party at Johnson. So I don't know, that was like a freshman tradition. All the freshman people would go down there and like have underage drinking, basically, outside of the pond. Anyway, so backing up to my childhood. Yeah, all of elementary school, I don't know what happened when I got out of school. I don't remember being in the after school program. Oh, I remember I used to go out in the playground and I used to spin around as fast as I could on the tire swing. And I would scream. Yeah, I would just go out in the playground and I'd just scream like a crazy person for recess. I feel like that must have been in 3rd grade because 4th and 5th grade I didn't want to go out for recess. Yeah, like maybe 3rd grade was like the last year I had any friends. Cause I see pictures of stuff from my 3rd grade class and it looks like I had friends, or like, I don't know, like if I had friends, that was the last year I had friends, but I don't remember making any personal connections with anyone in my class. All I remember is like feeling like I wasn't able to do that, like I didn't have any friends. And I remember my teacher and her Smarties candy. um So anyway, that's a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. And then 6th grade is when I had some friends who smoked pot. So that was better. Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble. Not so much in 6th grade. Well, yeah, no. 6th grade, I think I was, 12? That's when I started smoking cigarettes, stealing stuff. Wait, was it when I started stealing stuff? That could have been 7th grade. But yeah, 6th and 7th grade is when I started, like, being rebellious. Oh, so what happened? I was friends with Jerica, I was friends with Kristen, and that was pretty much it. I mean, me and Kristen, I don't know if something happened to Jerica, but she introduced me to Kristen, and I became friends with Kristen. And then we went to school together. And so she smoked pot, and I smoked pot, and my dad grew pot, and also smoked pot with me. So I was, like, already used to smoking all the time. And so she would come over and we would just get high. My dad would like put out newspapers, like huge piles of newspapers. Not piles, because of course it's flat on the floor, but a big area spread out with newspaper, and dump a bunch of outdoor grown weed on it. And say, go through it. Like, you take the tray. Like, here's the tray. You put the weed at the top, and you tilt it like that, and then you take matches, and you kind of sift through it so the seeds fall at the bottom. And so you pick out the seeds first and then the stems. And so we took all this leafy stuff, and he was like, yeah, you can smoke it, but just don't smoke all of it. So we would just sit there and get high and listen to Afroman because I got high. And just, I don't know, talk and chill. So yeah. Where was Jerica though? I don't know. Anyway, so then I had a friend, and Jerica was also my friend in 6th and 7th grade, right? Yeah, because in 8th grade she went to juvie, and I was like completely abandoned. That sucked. Anyway, so during this time, I stole cigarettes from my mom. I smoked cigarettes. I smoked pot, and then I started like running away, and I met Kristen's friends, and then we became a friend group. So I was like friends with her boyfriend. I was friends with Chris and Ryan, and later in life, like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, all middle school. I'll just cover that whole time period. Yeah, I was friends with Kristen. I think I met Ashley, but I wasn't friends with her. That was Kristen's cousin. Her boyfriend was Chris. And then her ex-boyfriend was Ryan, who I ended up dating. And I actually love him now. And the reason why is because one day I was grounded. So when I was in school, I was always running away. I didn't like school. I liked getting high. And so I would like leave, have clash with my teachers or I don't know, other people or whatever. And I'd get sent to the planning room and I wouldn't want to be there. And they have like these little tiny jail cells. They had 2 of them with a tiny window, like about the size of my phone, a little bigger than the size of my phone. And they would lock you in there. And so I would just leave, like get up and walk out of the school. I think I had Jerica with me a few times. And then the police, of course, would come looking for us because you can't be truant and you can't have missing children from a school. So that was just annoying. But it was kind of an adrenaline rush too. We had some we had some interesting times leaving. What else happened? Yeah, I ran away from home too. It wasn't just school. I don't know why, but I'm sure that's when my dad lived with us. And so yeah, I don't know what was so wrong with my life that I hated it, but I fucking hated it. Like I was like so angry and I didn't know why. And I still don't know why. I asked my sister, Jen, like kind of over and over again, like, why was I so angry? And she's like, could be from our parents' divorce. I'm like, oh yeah. But I don't know. So yeah, I would like, oh, it was so bad. I just ran away all the time. I liked Eminem, and I would like, I had a stereo, right, and I loved music. I always listened to rap music, and I loved Eminem. And so when the song "Clean Out My Closet" came on, I got that CD, and I had not a big stereo, but a loud stereo, and I would listen to blaring loud rap music all the time. My dad fucking hated it. And I enjoyed pissing my parents off to some extent. So I would just, plus I like music, so I'd blare loud music as much as I could get away with. And yeah, I would like sing the lyrics of "Cleaning Out My Closet" to my mom. like all, it was messed up. I took permanent marker and I wrote like really obscene, luscidious things, like "my mother is a whore," all over my walls with permanent marker. And plus I was running away all the time. I would be like, oh, can I go to my friend's house? She'd be like, no. I'd be like, okay, thanks. And then just leave. And then yeah, I ran away a lot. I befriended my neighbors who were drug addicts, specifically Jess. And I don't know, that was like more when I was around 15. Anyway, the time I remember, I was like dating Ryan. And yeah, he was the first person who I ever like willingly did anything sexual with, like, because I really liked Ryan, but it was just like weird because he dated Kristen and that was my friend. I was like, I can't date anyone who dates my friends, like that's against my like code. I don't know, I just had some kind of like morals or something. which was weird because my mom also had morals and tried to instill that in her children. I picked up on some of it, but not all of it. And so, yeah, I don't know. What was I saying? Oh, the thing about Ryan. I started dating Ryan in middle school for like a week or something, but I did really like him. And so anyway, I was friends with, it was like me, me, Kristen, Chris, Ryan, and Ian. That was our group. And we would all like smoke weed like literally every single day. I would like walk to Kristen's house with her, and we would get high in her hallway. And it was really good times. And the thing is about like kids smoking weed in middle school, usually the people you buy weed from are adults. So like Kristen had adult neighbors who she could buy weed from, who also sold it to her dad, right? And as a kid, I'm not like, oh wow, that's pretty messed up. But as like an adult now, I'm like, what? Like I can see how it's messed up. But it was the same thing with me, because I would get weed from my neighbors, and I would go over to their house and I would get high and I would do drugs. And so I was friends with Jess during like, I don't know when I started hanging out there, probably like 8th grade. And I had other neighbors who were like my age, and that was Rebecca and Janizabeth. And I had like other self-esteem issues from missing teeth. This one's real, but that was a baby tooth. I had to have 2 surgeries to get this out, like from behind my nose, pulled down. And this one's fake, but this was the main problem. Because when they pulled it out, it was missing for a long time because I had to have multiple surgeries to get my real tooth in its proper place. But there was like a baby tooth here fighting for that space. Anyway, I had like missing teeth, and so that like really also was a blow to my self-esteem. Anyway, so Rebecca and Elizabeth, like Rebecca was my neighbor, but I also went to daycare with her, and I didn't really like her, and that was a different daycare. The daycare I first talked about was like maybe when I was in elementary school. This daycare was when I was in like middle school, where Rebecca went to daycare with me, and Mariah, and she had a sister also named Rebecca, but we called her Becca Bow. And that was Laura and Jason. And I remember the reason why, like I had different daycares to pick from, but the reason why I picked that one, J&L Playhouse, was because they had a piano. And then like one of the first days I was there, I like went to play it, and they were like, no, you're not allowed to play with that, like you can't play the piano. And I was like, what? That's like the biggest reason why I picked this daycare. And so I was not happy about that, but I wasn't able to change it and go to the one that had a swimming pool. So that was like annoying to me, and that just kind of ruined the whole vibe. Anyway, oh, the other guy that was there was Mike McGrath. And I remember one time he shoved my head in a snowbank at daycare. Like, what the fuck is even happening at this stupid fucking daycare? He shoved my head in a snowbank, and that was the first time that ever happened to me. But my head was in it, and I like opened my eyes, and I was looking around. It was like actually really cool. So I was like looking at it, because like my head went in the snow, and then all around my face was snow, and I just kept my head in there because I was like exploring. And everything was like getting warmer, so I wasn't like cold or anything except for my ears. And with my eyes open looking at the snow around my face, he shoved my head back in, and it like stung my eyes. It was like, it wasn't soft snow, it was like hard snow, and I could like feel it scraping my eyeballs, and I was like not happy. I'm gonna have to make a part 2 because I'm running out of time. But yeah, so far I'm at like middle school.